Well, the gaming news just keeps coming this week, don't it? For those who don't know, Kotaku is essentially collapsing. Kotaku being a relatively infamous gaming site, where essentially, according to Aftermath, link in the description down below, Jen Glennon, the previous editor-in-chief for Kotaku, resigned, and in the resignation letter, and I'll quote Aftermath here, Glennon says that she made this choice due to the management team's recent decision to deprioritize news in favor of guides. What is essentially happening here? Kotaku was told from high above to transition from a lot of think pieces and opinion pieces and move primarily, not entirely, over to guide-based content for video games. There's some numbers floating around the internet, but I don't know how reliable they are. It's something like 50 guides a week. The common sentiment going around is that this is just unsustainable. And the conspiracy theory is that this is being done to essentially get them to quit or to fire them down the line. This, in my opinion, is a massive focal point for the gaming journalism scene. It's representing years, if not decade-long, trends and just public opinion boiling up to the surface here. All culminating in this shift in gaming journalism away from traditional outlets to more personality-based content on YouTube and Twitch. At the end of the day, a lot of Kotaku's coverage on the video games medium came off as really preachy, trying to talk down to the gamers that they're playing games wrong or that the way they think is wrong. And at the end of the day, it's just a lot of people don't want to be told by some website what to think, or if you should morally enjoy a video game because of whatever reason. People don't want to be talked down to, or be told for each game whether or not it abides by some arbitrary moral purity test as to whether or not you should feel morally sanctioned by the internet police to play a video game. Because at the end of the day, life is hard and it sucks, and people want a way to escape from that. And traditional gaming journalism is largely boiled down to reminding people of reality and trying to shove fake online virtue into a medium designed to be an escape from reality or primarily a comfort activity. There's nothing wrong with talking about these issues in my opinion, but tone matters. And if you try and preach from high above and tell people that they are fundamentally morally bankrupt because they want to enjoy a particular video game, well, congratulations, you're not going to be well received. I mean, just look back to last year with all the outrage over a game like Hogwarts Legacy. I didn't cover the game because I don't particularly give a crap about Harry Potter to begin with. I never really have. And last year, when Hogwarts Legacy was coming out, you had this vocal minority on the internet acting as if the game was the supreme evil of the modern times. This was an inescapable conversation around the game if you were even remotely interested in it. And hot takes flung about as if they were hotcakes. And then the game would go on to sell the most copies in all of 2023. Like, what are most people supposed to take away from that? Are they supposed to take anything else other than it's just a few vocal people on the internet being stupid about something that no one really cares about or puts much stock in? Does anyone truly, genuinely believe someone is morally bankrupt because they wanted to play Hogwarts Legacy, or that they played the game, or that it's some stain and mark on them as a character, or as a person? This is the most internet brain rot take I've ever heard. Well, give the internet a week, we'll probably hear something worse, let's be fair here. I mean, just think about Kotaku's reputation over the years. If you heard an incredibly tone-deaf and idiotic gaming take that no one cares about, or thought about before you heard about this over the years, one of the first people you think of are Kotaku. And more than half the time, if you thought of Kotaku, you were probably right in terms of that bad take's origin. Remember back in Persona 5 days, when there was an entire conversation whether or not one of the songs for the game had a slur in it? I remember that conversation. And this is the reputation they created for themselves. Is it any wonder that they aren't garnering much sympathy in this current situation? And I can't even say that I'm particularly happy or celebratory about what's happening to Kotaku. I think it was inevitable, especially with the whole Sweet Baby fiasco going on right now and Kotaku's role in all of that. I believe in freedom of expression, I believe in freedom of speech. People should be allowed to have these opinions that Kotaku has had over the years. However, that doesn't mean people have to listen to them or care about them. And when time and time again you try and take the moral high ground and act holier than thou, and treat the people who are supposed to be the ones reading your site as if they are some kind of grand evil, or at least have that perception around you, you can't be surprised when you garner negative views in regards to your site. The gaming industry is at a focal point where people are tired of being told what to think or what to support or what they shouldn't support by some faceless people on the internet who chances are aren't morally pure themselves. Because people aren't perfect, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, it is the video games industry. No matter where you look, you will not find moral purity. People care about the game. They want to know if the game is enjoyable. They want to be able to have access to information pertinent to them as to what may form their own purchasing decision. And when gaming journalism at large, and I think Kotaku is kind of the punching bag in a lot of these scenarios, but it is the gaming journalism industry at large, at least has been, when you feel as if the priority of gaming journalism is not to inform the consumer of objective realities for these games, but to try and inject moral purity or these virtue tests onto each game and to tell the consumer whether it's morally acceptable to play a game or not, you run counterintuitive to what people go to you to begin with. I don't go to a gaming website for some kind of personality. If I want a personality and what a specific individual thinks, I'll go to a YouTube page or a Twitch channel. Something more individualized and personalized based on a singular person or group of people. If I go to a website like IGN or something, or GameSpot or PC Gamer, something along these lines, I want as unbiased as reasonably possible and expected, objective analysis, or just information that is being released in regards to these subjects. That's at least what I personally would want out of these websites. How often do we actually get that? Sometimes we do, don't get me wrong, sometimes. But gaming journalism on the whole has eroded its reputation so extremely over the years. And this isn't a recent development, it's been the case for over 10 years. And maybe these sites took this pivot in direction because they were afraid of the ever-changing landscape of gaming journalism. It was always going to go closer to YouTube and Twitch and live streaming and stuff like that because you remove the need for the middleman. When I was growing up and I wanted information about a game, I had to get a gaming magazine or find some article about it. I had to hope that a gaming journalist would ask the questions or cover the information pertinent to what I want out of that coverage. And I remember learning about Mass Effect 3 or Halo 4 back in the day from Game Informer. And I got a lot of cool information from those magazines back in the day because they were cool. But stuff like that is no longer particularly needed, is it? Because I don't need the middleman, I can just go to actual gameplay. If I want to, for a game like Dragon's Dogma 2, I can just go look up gameplay. I don't need to read an article, I don't need to read someone else's thoughts about it, I can just go watch someone play the game and get the information pertinent to me, and I don't need a middleman to obfuscate any facts or reality concerning the game. That information is available and readily so. And I think gaming journalism across the scene realized this reality years and years ago, and made the pivot over to gaming hot takes or just think pieces to try and maintain some kind of foothold of relevancy here. And all they did and managed to do was en masse antagonize so many people who just wanted to play a video game and have fun with it. Kotaku being the most infamous of them all. And off rip, I'm just gonna say this, I'm not the kind of guy to celebrate someone losing their job. In this circumstance, though, I'm not going to be the guy to mourn it either. Yeah, sorry about this, by the way, my voice is a little bit off today. And when time and time again, you take a position so out there, so easily shown to be stupid and removed from the situation on a consistent basis, and you develop this reputation over the years, you can't be surprised when public sentiment isn't going to go your way here. And it all culminated with what I talked about earlier with the Sweet Baby Inc. debacle, this gaming consulting firm. And when you cover a really well-known and talked about news story in the video games medium, and you clearly have a slant, and that slant leads you to ignore pertinent and relevant information, all while being an active participant in the situation going on in regards to Sweet Baby Incorporated detected curate the group on Steam, you paint yourself in a bad light. Gaming journalism has been in a sorry state for years, if not over a decade at this point. And I remember, way back in the day, in the early 2010s, Total Biscuit making countless videos on this subject matter, how gaming journalism at large needed to take a hard look in the mirror and reevaluate its stances, its use and seeming embrace of biases, and the deplorable state that the games industry at large had devolved into in regards to journalism and regards to coverage from an ethical standpoint. This was a conversation in the industry 10 plus years ago, and it never got addressed. It was always swept under the proverbial rug, time and time and time again, allowed to fester and foster and multiply, while the mold in this industry set in and spread. Is it any wonder how little sympathy that a lot of these gaming journalism sites have garnered over the years, when people simply ask for coverage related to topics they actually truly care about, pertinent, relevant, as non-biased as humanly reasonably possibly offered coverage in regards to these games, with clear, ethical guidelines, very simple requests. When these are disregarded for over 10 plus years, is it any wonder that gaming journalism is in the state that it is right now? That the trust in it is at an all-time low and continuing to go lower. You can agree with Kotaku's politics, you can disagree with them, but I think any objective measure or unbiased observation of the gaming industry and journalism scene at large for any length of time will show you that the events that are unfolding right now were inevitable, and that these reactions were always bubbling and boiling right under the surface, waiting to erupt. When you try and write off any basic criticism or conversation surrounding gaming journalism as nothing more than harassment, and try and sweep all of it under the rug because of a few bad apples, you get what you get. A moral high ground means nothing if there's no one to listen to. If you can't articulate your thoughts and opinions in such a way that are cohesive, understandable, and that people are actually receptive to, then no one's going to care. You are not obligated, I'm not obligated, for anyone to care about what we say. It's as simple as that. You aren't obligated, you aren't deserving of goodwill. Goodwill is earned, it's not given, it's not a right. I genuinely hope that gaming journalism at large can take a hard look at the man in the mirror and reevaluate its efforts and try and double down and go into a direction that is mutually beneficial not only for the industry but for consumers as well. There has to be a role for unbiased, objective analysis and news coverage surrounding video games. Having an opinion is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to be a gaming journalist, ethical guidelines have to be considered, have to be taken into consideration and taken to heart. And if your coverage isn't primarily focused on informing the consumer in regards to an upcoming game to better inform their purchasing decision, then what use is your coverage? I'm not saying that it doesn't have a use. I'm just asking, what use is it? And with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It'd really help the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games if you can, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the subject matter as well. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.